Hello, welcome to an informational webinar, Bridging the Divide. Today I'm sharing a distance learning lesson in History Social Science, specifically written for first grade. This is part of a collection of distance learning History Social Science lessons sponsored by the CLIck project. And we have for you sample lessons in History Social Science for every grade level, K-12, that is standards based and intended to provide a model for distance learning within your curriculum and within your classroom. So every lesson is standards based, but it's not intended to encompass an entire curriculum, but simply serve as model lessons for distance learning. And they are written in a way that you can use them as is, or you can copy and adjust and create and add your own content and your own technological tools that you might have that best serve your students. But they're here to, we thought would be a great way to help you along as we are all in distance learning, and these lessons transition really nicely into a hybrid model as there is time in each lesson for synchronous learning and asynchronous learning. So I'm going to go ahead and share with you what we have come up with in terms of format. And this content is on the standard of what makes a citizen a responsible citizen. So this is something we study in first grade all year long. So I'm hoping that it will be perfect for you at any time of the year. Each lesson is written in the 5E format. And this format that utilizes words that start with E, and I'll share with them in a second, was originally created for science, but we found them to be very useful for history social science, especially in distance learning. So it's a common format used for many lesson plans. It aligns with the format of the hyperdoc, so everything in it is hyperlinked to primary sources, and you can see here that if you click on it, you will get information on the 5 E's. So I'll share that on the next slide, but just so you know that you have the information right here within the document as you need it. It's easy to follow for teachers, and we also provide background information on the 5E format, but let me share with you this slide so you can get a quick overview now. But those documents are linked for you, and you can see that evaluation is the center. We're always looking to see if our students have learned in that formative evaluation process through synchronous and asynchronous learning. So each part of the lesson plan utilizing the 5 E's has an asynchronous and synchronous list of ideas and activities, and also provides ideas of when you can look for that assessment, when you can evaluate to see if they're engaged, to see if your students are learning what you want them to learn. At the end of the lesson, they have an evaluative piece. We have an evaluative piece where you're utilizing not just formative assessment, but summative assessment. So in the engage process, this is the part of the lesson that we, where we want to tap and build background knowledge. And this is the type of thing we do in regular face-to-face teaching. We get students ready to learn and cultivate curiosity. In the explore section, these are the learning experiences. How are the students grappling with the content? What are they doing to learn it? In the explain phase, students synthesize new knowledge. They are encouraged to ask questions and seek clarification. And in this part of the lesson, we're hoping that their understanding is solidified and it boosts their understanding. The elaborate portion of the lesson is when students apply what they've learned and they develop a deeper understanding. and they can create, they can investigate further. And this is the time where they really cement that knowledge. And in the evaluate portion of the lesson, that's where we offer suggestions for summative and also formative assessment throughout the whole lesson plan. I'm Rebecca Valbuena. I wrote all of the elementary lessons, and I'm currently still writing them. So on the website, you'll see several lessons for each grade level, and there will eventually be more added to it in the coming days and weeks. I've been teaching elementary school for the last 30 years, and I'm currently a teacher on special assignment at the Glendora Unified School District, so that means that I work in the area of professional development and academic coaching. I'm a member of the CLIC team for Region 11. Our CLIC is an acronym. It stands for Content, Literacy, Inquiry, and Civics, the four major components of our state framework. And as we are learning about the framework and implementing the framework, we have our CLIC team across the state. And I have worked for the last 3 years as a Region 11 team member. Region 11 is the SoCal area. I'm currently the president-elect of the California Council for the Social Studies, a wonderful organization that promotes history, social science, teaching, and learning. And I'm also a board member of the National Council for the Social Studies. In the evenings, I am a history methods instructor at Cal Poly Pomona. So been working in history, social science for a very long time, and love to share ideas with fellow elementary teachers. This lesson that I'll give you a tour of, and I'm just providing a tour of one so you can get an idea of the format and an idea of how they're run and how they look. But this one's called Our Rights and Responsibilities. We address the challenges of distance learning throughout this lesson with ideas for engagement and ways to help your students interact with you and each other and their family members. Again, working on that student engagement, as we know that in-person or distance learning, this is when real learning takes place. Creating lessons that are relevant to students in their real lives, and that they can see why it's important to know these things and to study. And we also provide options for learning and assessment. So plenty of options, and you can use it as a menu or you can use it as is. So the lesson overview, again, this lesson hits a standard and addresses our framework. And it's on the citizenship standard in first grade. We share some integration ideas with English language arts because throughout the lesson, students are reading, writing, listening, speaking, and using teamwork. We also share integration with the ELD standards and other areas besides ELA and ELD. There are economics integrations, geography, civics, social justice, SEL, technology, VAPA, STEM. When it's appropriate, we see math, science, LGBTQ plus history, etc. So wherever there is a natural integration, you'll see it in parentheses, just so that you know as a teacher that there is another content area being addressed. Integration is something we do as elementary teachers every single day. So let me share the lesson with you. I'll just give you a quick tour, and it'll pop up in just a second. Each lesson will have a cover page, and it's coming, there it is, with the Bridging the Divide, and you'll see the grade level and the lesson and the author there. Underneath, you'll see the acknowledgements of all of the project facilitation and oversight, the authors and reviewers, and people just dedicating lots of time to share these with you. As we look at the lesson plan format, The blue section is all background knowledge for you, the teacher. And in it, you will see the title and the grade level and the learning objective. Important piece is the compelling question. And this compelling question, as students are learning in first grade, they know that people within our community and within our school and within our country are citizens. But what makes a citizen a responsible citizen? And that is a compelling question for this particular lesson. And this, when I say lesson, it's not one day, but perhaps 4 or maybe more, depending on the structure of your and time allotments that you have for synchronous learning. But generally 4 class sessions of synchronous and 4 asynchronous. So for each of the E's, there's a synchronous and an asynchronous component. This lists our history, social science, and our history, social science framework standards here. So you can see the connection. We've got a slew of Common Core ELA standards and our ELD connection. The last part of the blue section, that is the background information for teachers, is the supporting questions. So supporting questions are like stepping stones or stairs to the compelling question. So in this particular lesson, where students are learning why are rules and laws important, what is the Constitution, what are rights, and what are some responsibilities of citizenship. All big concepts for first grade. So the engage piece, this is the meat of your lesson and where you get the instruction and where all your hyperlinks are. And the beauty of these lesson formats is that everything's here for you. And it's in very simple tools that are free. So I'll use the Google Suite for everything because most districts have access to it, and also it's free. But you're welcome to obviously put in whatever you're using that is comfortable for you. I mean, I think one of the best tips I can give you for distance learning is to keep it simple and use tools that you're comfortable with and that work for you the best. But in this lesson are some examples, and you're welcome to modify them, obviously, in any way that seems appropriate for you. So as we engage students, probably you already have rules for engagement or rules for distance learning or some sort of agreement with your students, as we've been in distance learning for quite a while now. So it's time to talk about those rules that were developed and talk about how they were developed. Maybe look at them again, revisit them, and ask the students if, now that we've been doing this for a few months now, do we need to add any rules? Do any of these rules need to be changed? Are they still working? Are they still appropriate and applicable? So we want to take students' ideas for revising the rules and ask them to explain why they think the rules might need to be edited or revised. So we'll conduct an informal vote with things like, can we all agree on the rule blank, right? And so we're kind of teaching them to have consensus building. Is there anyone who disagrees? And then we amend those rules or add to them as a group. And we want them to experience that because we're going to talk about that in history of how people compromise and how people come to agreements. So at that point, we'll introduce the idea that making good choices during distance learning is important to learning, safety, and having fun. And you use a chart, and you would click the hyperlink right here to brainstorm good and poor choices during distance learning. So we're having them think about good and poor choices and perhaps the consequences of those. So this link is a Jamboard. It's in the Google Suite, and it's very easy to use. This one's already pre-made, but you can take this, click right here, the text box, and students will brainstorm what are some good choices and what might be some poor choices and why. So you can add more Post-its right here where it says sticky note, or you can just write on it on the text box. So very simple tool, but when you share your screen, it just provides a way for everyone to see what's going on, just like you might do a chart in front of the classroom if you were in person. So at this point, we would explain that our country has a set of rules called laws, and they're designed to keep people safe and protected. So we're starting with ourselves and then showing how it connects to our country. At this point, you would show the United States Constitution, and this is a hyperlink to a primary source picture, which is very difficult to see and read, but they can at least see what it looks like and talk about it in terms of age and how do we know that it's old, etc. So we'll show that to them, explain that it was written over 200 years ago, just share the Constitution with them, and talk about the word amendment. And that amendments are a way that we change the Constitution, just like we changed our class rules. During asynchronous time, our students will watch a video. And when you click on this hyperlink, it goes directly to a YouTube video. So you would just send them the link and they will watch it. And the task is find out the first 3 words of the Constitution and write them on a piece of paper. And ask the students to draw one interesting fact, remember it, and draw one interesting fact from the video to share during their next synchronous class time. It gives a suggestion for a formative assessment. In this case, you'll observe that they could write "We the People," and you will take anecdotal notes as a suggestion if they were able to share a fact that they learned from the video. In the Explore section of this lesson, we allow students time to show their papers that have the first 3 words. Just hold them up and share it with the students and have a class discussion why the Constitution begins with "We the People." Why are those first 3 words larger than the rest of the text? And just discussing that primary source and why it was written that way and why those 3 words might be important. At this point, you'll share and read a poem, which is hyperlinked right here, and explore the idea of rights. Explain that the Constitution protects our rights, and then we'll lead a discussion asking, what do you think rights are? What are they? And asking their opinion, but then asking children to clarify what if rights are there to protect us, what are some of the most important things that the Constitution will do in terms of protecting us, and why is that important? So hopefully they come out of it understanding that rules and laws are in place to protect us, keep us safe, so that we can enjoy life. In our asynchronous time, we'll ask students to read that poem with a family member and explain what they know about rights to a family member. At this point, I have linked 3 portraits of some individuals that are the framers of the Constitution, and the students will ask their parents and their family members if they can name these people. So just sort of a little fun family activity and connection to see if they can figure out together who those people are. Again, an idea for formative assessment. During the explain section, where students will solidify what they've learned, we would review what it means to have rights and watch a little video together. Again, this links you right to a YouTube video, which after you watch it, you can discuss and have students list in the chat bar any of the responsibilities mentioned in the video. As children, they can either type it or you can just write them as they say it. And you know how we do it in class, write it and then list the child's name next to it. So there's that sense of ownership. During asynchronous time, we will have students rewatch the video and complete one slide. So there is a hyperlink to a slide, Google slide, where the students will type how they can be a good citizen. If that is something that you're not comfortable doing or your students aren't ready for that, you could have them write a complete sentence frame on a paper. But that's completely up to you and what technology you have available. Again, idea for a formative assessment in terms of being able to observe your students and their oral explanations. As students elaborate on this concept, During synchronous time, there is a video to watch. I have the right to be a child. You can discuss the importance. It's a very short clip. Discuss the importance of the rights of children as the narrator discussed it. And that is a SEL, social justice inclusion, based on the content. It's really a great video clip. And finally, we have some ways to evaluate our students throughout the lesson, and in terms of figuring out if they have learned the content and are successful at it. So hopefully you can see the ease in which that lesson is for implementation, and that it is inclusive of a lot of different modalities and allows children full engagement opportunities. So our final thoughts, there is an intentional design for this with the 5 E's and the synchronous, asynchronous class time format. And we hope that there are some innovative ways to engage our students and give them choices. And that most of the assignments are in an open-ended format. And this is such a great time to lean into this, because we have the time when students are in their asynchronous class time. They have the time to go deeper, perhaps, than they would in class, just because of not having that time in class to do those, to spend on the drawing, to talk with our family, to engage at your own pace. So this is really a great opportunity for us to encourage our students to dig deep into the types of concepts that we might have to rush through in a normal classroom setting. And hopefully there are extension ideas, or that you are able to work with your students for extension ideas in this distance learning lesson. The links to all of the lessons that have been developed and that are still being developed will be found in the notes section of this video. And there are so many resources available along with these lessons on the website californiahss.org. So take a look there, share it with your colleagues. Just a ton of resources from all over the state, as well as lessons for distance learning K-12. Thank you very much for listening today, and let us know how your lessons go. And if you have anything to share, please let us know as well. And we'd be happy to amend lessons once you've taught them and include what you have found out to be successful. So best wishes for a wonderful year, and we hope that this has been helpful.